Hi folks, today we're going to cover the quadratic formula. Now the quadratic formula works in quadratic equations. Now keep in mind, a is always the number that's in front of x squared, b is always the number in front of x, c is always the constant, and we must make sure that we set this quadratic equation equal to 0 so that we can use the quadratic formula. Now the quadratic formula is how it looks right here. X equals the opposite of b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So an example of how this works, we'll start out right here, x squared plus 3x equals 4. Now, we need to make sure that we set it equal to 0 first. So we just go ahead and subtract this 4 over to the other side. So we'd have x squared plus 3x minus 4 equals 0. Now we identify a, b, and c. So a is 1, b is 3, c is negative 4. And now it's just a matter of plugging them in where they belong in the quadratic equation, or the quadratic formula. So x equals the opposite of b. So right now b is 3, so we have negative 3, plus or minus the square root of 3 squared minus 4 times a, which is 1, times c, which is negative 4, all over 2a, so 2 times 1. Now we just, for lack of a better term, just kind of grind through this thing. So x equals negative 3 plus or minus the square root. Now, as we look underneath this square root, 3 squared is 9, minus 4 times 1 times negative 4, which would be negative 16. So minus a negative will be plus the positive, so 9 plus 16 is going to give us 25, all over 2 times 1 is 2. Now we know that the square root of 25 is 5, so we can simplify this down a little bit further. So we have negative 3 plus or minus 5, all over 2. So now we can come up with our two answers, which we should get with a quadratic that crosses an x-axis. Our two answers will be negative 3 plus 5 over 2, and x will equal negative 3 minus 5 over 2. So here we got negative 3 plus 5 is 2. 2 divided by 2 will be 1. And here, x equals negative 3 minus 5 will be negative 8. Negative 8 divided by 2 will be negative 4. So here's where it crosses the x-axis. It'll cross at 1 and negative 4. Now, granted, you could have found this by factoring, but keep in mind, you won't be able to factor everything. So we need to have an answer for that, and here is our answer. This will work every time as long as there are x-intercepts. Here we'll do another example, starting out with this right here, 25x squared minus 18x equals 12x minus 9. Now again, we got to make sure that we set this whole thing equal to 0, so we can subtract the 12x over to the other side. And we can also add the 9 on the same step. So we would have 25x squared minus 30x plus 9 equals 0. Now we identify a, b, and c. So a is always in front of x squared, b is always in front of x, c is always the constant, making sure that we're aware of the signs that are there with them. Now it's a matter of plugging in. So x equals the opposite of b, so negative of negative 30, plus or minus the square root of negative 30 squared minus 4 times 25 times 9, all over 2 times a, which is 25. So now we need to, again, grind this thing out. So x equals A double negative here will make it positive 30, plus or minus the square root. So here, negative 30 squared will be 900, minus 4 times 25 times 9 will be 900. So 900 minus 900 will give us 0, all over 50. So the square root of 0, very simple, is 0. So what we're really left with is 30 over 50, which we can break down to 3/5. So this quadratic equation is really only going to touch the x-axis at one spot, and that'll be at 3/5. So we know where the vertex is. There is another example on this page, but what I'm going to do is save it for class in case anybody has questions on it. We have another one we can go over. And that's all I have for today, so your assignment will be on page 296, numbers 3 through 21 all, and 75 to 79 odd. Best of luck to you. We'll see you in class.